What's going on YouTube? Or Storm here, coming at you guys with another deck profile today. This will be Blackwings updated with some of the cards I got in my Wing Raiders box not too long ago. But before I start this deck profile, I'd like to got a few things I wanted to get out of the way. First off, I'd like to thank the Kali Effect for selling me a lot of these cards. Majority of the cards in this deck profile are from him. Not all of them, of course. A lot of the Ghost Rares were bought in other places. But I'd like to just straight up thank Kali Effect for selling me these cards. If you ever want a good Yu-Gi tuber to buy from, Kali Effect is pretty solid. Item number 2 on the agenda is I am gonna finally be finishing up the Ignites. I know you guys Kappas have been waiting for the Ignites for ages, and I apologize for the wait, but I had a mishap with some of the cards I ordered for overseas. They never came in, so I went ahead and said fuck it and excuse the language, but fuck it and go ahead and just order them. And the third thing is I've actually updated my camera angles for this deck profile. So again, let me know in the comment section if you like these new camera angles, and they will stay for future deck profiles. So and then all the way, here's the deck profiles. First off, 3 copies of Blackwing Chris the Crack of Dawn. So Chris is one of arguably I'd say one of the best monsters in the deck. When you can, like all the Blackwing monsters, except for I think Blizzard, you can special summon him from your hand when you control another Blackwing monster, and once per turn he cannot be destroyed by spell or trap effects. So your opponent tries to Regeki while this card is out, this card will stick on the field. People underestimate how actually good that effect is, so it's really good. It's also level 4, so you can search it via Force Tricks. Then 2 copies of Blackwing Boar the Spear. I kind of debated between 2 or 3, but I thought 2 was kind of an ideal ratio wise. I thought 2 was kind of a good number. It's sort of similar to Chris, except instead of the protection effect, it does piercing damage. So yeah, pretty good. Then 2 copies of Blackwing Blizzard the Far North. Blizzard, when it's normal summon, allows you to special summon 1 level 4 or lower Blackwing monster. From your graveyard, but unlike Wolfbark, the effect is not negated. So most of the time you're not going to grab a Gale from the graveyard, but you can use Gale's effect if you do happen to use this bad boy's effect. Most of the time you want to be grabbing a level 4 though, so you can get out your Nothung. Then 2 copies of Blackwing Shura the Flame. As I said in previous deck profiles, Shura is not a bad card. The problem is pendulums exist. Like, this card would be a lot better if pendulums weren't running around, but nevertheless it's still really good, and I kind of like that you can use the effect whenever it destroys opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the grave. So you have this out, your opponent tries to attack into it, and you use your Kalut, it'll get its effect, and you'll have a Pinaki on the field to use for your next turn. So overall I think the card is pretty solid, but I wouldn't play 3 because, like I said, pendulums exist and it won't get its effect when it runs over a pendulum monster. Then 2 copies of Blackwing Geralt the Whirlwind. It's hard to believe, like, a little over a year ago this card was still at 1, but Gale is still, but that's power creep for you. But Gale is still a really solid card, and I think it's the fact that it modifies attack and defense is obviously not as good. Being able to half a monster and then reduce it by another 800 when you drop your Nothung is really, really good. Gale's still a really good card, but I wouldn't run 3 could get kind of cloggy. Then 1 copy of Blackwing Orochi the Squall. So if you don't know what Orochi does, it's a level 1 tuner monster that you can special summon it when you control a Blackwing monster, and then when it's used as a synchro material, you can target 1 monster on the field and change its battle position. So this card combos really well with what's the card's name again? With Nothung, because you can search this off of whatever card you normal summon off of Nothung's effect, special summon this, synchro summon for Yugioh, then bring the Nothung right back. So it's really, really good. I feel like I only run 1 because usually when I drop Yugioh Nothung at that point, typically I've won the game because I can OTK my opponent. Then 2 copies of Blackwing Pinaki the Waxing Moon. Basically, I call him Scarm. He's basically Scarm the Blackwing. So if you don't know, the first effect is a tuner monster, but you can only use it to make Blackwing synchros. So if your opponent, you can't use this to make stuff like Clear Wing, for example. But when if it's in the graveyard, because it's sent there this turn, you can add 1 during the end phase. You can add 1 Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand. So ideally, you want to grab this off of your Shura because you want to get it out of your deck. It's not the best card to draw, but you want to you can get it out of your deck with Shura, then main phase 2, Synchro Summon for Yugioh or Raikiri. So it's pretty good. And of course, in my opinion, it wouldn't be a Blackwing deck without, of course, 3 copies of Blackwing Kalut the Moonshadow. Everyone's probably had that point where you're afraid to attacking the Blackwing monsters because you think they have Kalut, because they end up having Kalut. But Kalut is literally makes this this deck even. I don't think I would play it without 3 Kaluts. I understand like a lot of the competitive builds only run 2, but I feel like it's such a good card. You really want to have it, and at worst you can normal it, then special, then search a Gale with Whirlwind out. So card is just really good. Then last Blackwing is a copy of Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. Zephyros has kind of seen more play because of the Armageddon Knight engine and Draco Pals, but the card is like still really good in this deck as well because you can bounce. Although in this variant I'm not running a lot of continuous traps, but you can bounce the cards like your Whirlwind, then reactivate them, etc. So the card is still pretty good. I still like to have it, and it's searchable if I have Force Tricks, which just kind of matters. Then 2 copies of Maxx C. Maxx C is still, I feel like Maxx C is like one of the best cards right now because a lot of the outside of I feel like as long as Draco Pals are relevant and Pendulum decks are relevant, even though they all Pendulum at once, they usually need the thing about I noticed about a lot of Pendulum decks, yes, they Pendulum some of it. Most of the time, if you Maxx C them, they need a Pendulum and then do something else. So they're going to take that Maxx C challenge, and Maxx C is really good in Blackwings because you can draw into your Kaluts, which is going to suck for your opponent. So that's one of the reasons I like it in here. Now for the spells, this build's a little more spell heavy than some of my previous builds, but let's go ahead and get to it. So 1 Regeki. I still like Regeki. The fact that Ptolemaeus being banned just makes Regeki a lot better in my opinion because aside of Cosmos, most of the time Regeki is going to be a good card, and even if you're playing a Pendulum deck, if you're using Regeki, you want to use it to clear their board so you can OTK them. So remember, like Regeki's a good card, you just gotta kind of be careful when you use it. Then 3 copies, of course, of Blackwing or Black Whirlwind. This card is just if this card was searchable, I imagine how good this deck would be. But it's kind of like Cyber Dragon players whining the Power Bond's not searchable. But anyway, when you normal summon when a Blackwing monster's normal summon, while this is out, you can search one Blackwing monster add 1 Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand that has less attack. So if you normal Chris, you can search anything that has 1800 or less attack. So card's really good. You got to run 3. Then for the spells, for the rest of the spells, these are all quick plays. 2 Lance. My theory with Lance is really good in decks where you are heavily reliant on inflicting damage to your opponent and getting your normal summons to go through. Great example are decks like Bujins, decks I play like Battle and Boxer is another great example. Any deck that needs your normal summon to go through, Lances can be really clutch. Then 2 copies of Swallow's Nest. Now, Swallow's Nest is a new card I've added to the deck. And finally got its reprint in Wing Raiders. I think it'd been out of print since Raging Battle, but Swallow's Nest is a really good card. So if you don't know what this card does, I will go ahead and read it to you. So tribute 1 face-up Wing Beast monster type monster. Special summon 1 Wing Beast monster from your deck with the same level as the tribute monster on the field. So what you might ask, okay, what does this give my deck? So say you have a Bora or a Chris out, and you happen to have a Blizzard in hand, so you can attack your opponent, drop Swallow's Nest, put the card in the grave, and then Blizzard it right back on main phase 2 and just trigger a lot of stuff. It's also a quick play, which means you can disrupt your opponent in the middle of the play. Say you have a level 4 Bora just sit and a couple other monsters sitting there, and they try to Regeki. Well, you can flip this. This will resolve. Before after. The chain link will resolve backwards. You can grab a Chris from your deck, and the Chris will stick on the field. So I like cards that can. It's a really flexible card. That's what I like about it. Then lastly, 2 MSTs. Yes, Icarus is a card, but in this deck, if I wasn't running as many copies of Icarus, I'd probably run Twin Twister, but I feel like Twin Twister is a bit too much in this deck, in my opinion. Now for the traps, 3 copies of Icarus attack again. This is one of the things about Blackwing players you'll know is we always have Icarus and Black Sonic set, just assume. So 3 Icarus, kind of self-explanatory. Then 2 Mirror Force. In the future, this will definitely be Quaking Mirror Forces. I feel like Quaking is a bit better than the other ones in this deck, simply because in the future I'm planning to add Armed Wing to the extra deck, and Bora does piercing damage, so these will be Quaking Mirror Force in the future. But for now, Mirror Force. Then 2 copies of Black Sonic, pretty much the same thing as Mirror Force. When you opponent declares an attack on a Blackwing monster you control, you can banish all face-up attack position monsters opponent controls. And if you control exactly 3 Blackwing monsters, you can activate this card from your hand. I've never really resolved that effect. Delta Crow is sort of like, it has a similar effect. But if you do happen to have 3 Blackwing monsters out, you can just leave this card in your hand, and then you can activate it in your hand. Which, there's not a lot of trap cards that can be activated from hand, so, you know, it's pretty cool. Although, to be fair, I've never gotten that effect off. 1 Solemn Warning, again, Pendulums exist. Warning is probably the best, one of the better one-ofs right now. The 1 Bottomless Trap Hole, again, sort of the same reason. And lastly, the 1 Emptiness, because we play Key Beetle in our extra deck, and that lock is just stupid. And this card, I think, is still good at 1, still wins games. Now for the extra deck, one of the new toys Blackwings got in Wing Raiders was Blackwing, or not Black, it is a Blackwing XC, it's a Raid Raptor technically, but it's called Raid Raptor Force Strix. You don't know what this card does. First off, it gains 500 attack and defense for each Wing Beast monster you control, so typically you're not going to have this in attack mode in this particular deck, though, because it has 2,000 defense, but only 100 attack. But you can detach one Exceed monster material from this card, and then add 1 level 4 Dark Wing Beast monster from your hand. So you ask, okay, what does this card search? It searches Chris, it searches Shura, it searches Zephyros, and it searches Bora. So what this card really gives the deck that what it was missing was an ideal first turn play that's not Armor Master. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Armor Master, but like my problem is that just being protected from battle is just not good enough. I need to be able to generate advantage going first, and that's where this card kind of comes in. Then 2 copies of Nothung, Blackwing Nothung the Starlight. Again, this is one of the premium gold support cards we got I think last year's premium gold. So when it allows you, while you can get an extra normal summon, you can normal summon an extra Blackwing, and then when it's synchro summon, special summon, not synchro summon, kind of key phrase there, you can burn your opponent for 800, and then one of their monsters gets reduced by 800 attack and defense. That does not target, so it can affect monsters like Dark Destroyer, monsters like Leo, etc. Then 2 copies of Blackwing Raikiri, or Salt Blackwing Raikiri the Range Shadow. So Raikiri basically gives the deck, came out in Dimensions of Chaos. It's allows you to pop cards up to the other Blackwing monsters you control, so that's really good. Being able to clear your opponent's back row and boards before you make a big push is always nice. Then for the last Blackwing Synchro, 1 Blackwing Obsidian Tamer Yugioh. So this card's effect is when you can target, once per turn you can target 1 level 5 or once per turn you can target 1 level 5 or higher Wing Beast monster graveyard, special summon it. This card is a warrior though, because you know that would quote, I think it would have been too broken if they could loop themselves. But I only play 1 because typically when I do drop this, it's from the Yugioh into, it's the Nothung into Yugioh combo, and like I said, typically I win when that combo happens. So I never really ended up in testing. I never made the second one, so there it is. So 1 Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. I still like this card, but in the future this will definitely be an armed wing, because I kind of like to have it in the level 6. But being able to bounce cards is pretty nice. And then 1 Black Rose Dragon. I'm a bit iffy. I like to like this card, but I don't know. I might swap this out for something else in the future because the deck is pretty back row heavy. But I still think Black Rose is just a really clutch card. Then the last Synchro monster is 1 Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Clearwing is really good. Being able to negate level 5 or higher monster effects is really key. Granted, Cosmo players can really easily play around this card, but the card is still really good. Now for the other Exceeds that aren't Force Strix, 2 copies of Ice Beast Zerofine. Zerofine is an amazingly good card. I don't know why Konami didn't give us a super rare print in Wing Raiders, but that's neither here or there. So Zerofine's effect, if you don't know what this does, it's once per turn, you can detach an Exceed material, you negate the effect of all face-up cards your opponent controls, and if you do, this card gains 300 attack for each face-up card currently on the field. Now, the reason that's relevant is because pendulums exist. And the fact is, pendulum not only will give this, if your opponent has their pendulum scale set, this is going to get 600 automatically, and then on top of that, a lot of pendulum cards have effects, so being able to negate those effects can be really good. Being able to negate something like, say, think in my mind, like something like Performa Pal Monkey Board is a great example, I think. So, yeah, this card's really good. Not from Luster Pendulum, for example, or Scout, but this card is really, really good. And then one copy of Dark Rebellion Exceed Dragon. I am running Zero Fine, so I might play something else in the future, but Dark Rebellion still, I feel like it's a really good card. Like I said previously, one Master Key Beetle. Again, we play all Dark monsters, and being able to set up, protect our Black Whirlwinds and set up our Emptiness Key Beetle lock is really good. One Castell, because we play all Wing Beasts, and you contribute this off with Icarus attack after spinning a card. And then lastly, one copy of Abyss Dweller, because Cosmos do exist, and Blackwings don't really play through floaters as well as other decks. So, with all that out of the way, anyway, guys, as always, I thank you guys for watching this video today. We appreciate when you guys watch my videos. Tune in on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you like what you saw from this video, please subscribe. Or Storm, signing out.